I want free healthcare.
Wait, no malfunction.
They just make...
Alright class, settle down and let me tell you a story. In terms of the firearm used by the UnitedHealthcare hitman, there are two prevailing theories. First, the gun jammed, that's why he had to pull the slide back in order to continue firing. Or B, he was using subsonic rounds which produces less noise and also less power, which isn't enough to continue the gun cycle of ejecting the spent shell casing and drawing the next round into the chamber from the magazine. We don't know, but hopefully Garand Thumb can shed some light into this quandary. If you have ideas or theories, feel free to put it down in the comments, and while you're there, please like, share, subscribe, do the whole notification button thing to help me out with the algo. And here we go. Alright class, so going back to the second theory, I've had friends who said they wanted a Deagle, they wanted the 44 Magnum, they wanted the 357, and I know a guy that's saving up to have a Vector shipped down here in Southeast Asia. I told them all that there's no point. Either your FMJ or your Hollow Point would do, because no one wears Kevlar down here in Southeast Asia. No need for dum-dums, no need for subsonic rounds or armor-piercing rounds. There's no need for any of it. The only reason that you're going to get high-powered ammunition or you're going to get armor-piercing ammunition or firearms is A, you're going up against armored opponents, which is highly unlikely, or B, you're planning on taking down an armored car, which is, well, more unlikely. Anyways, before I get ahead of myself, why don't we check out Garand Thumb's theory regarding the myths surrounding the healthcare firearm used and the rounds used. There we go. Definitely a Glock.
So right here, we have a Glock with a functioning suppressor. Now, just recently, a few days ago, the UnitedHealthcare CEO was assassinated using a suppressed firearm. The question is...
There we go. Are suppressors legal? Is it legal there?
Is exactly what did he use? Why was he cycling the weapon? What occurred? There are a ton of myths going around.
Yeah, there's a ton of myths. Why was he cycling the weapon manually?
That maybe are from people who don't know shit about guns. My name is Michael Jones, former Air Force Special Warfare guy, shooter all around. Of course, we have with us Jeremy. Jeremy, what is your background?
A cyber simulative warfare veteran. So I play video games, that's it.
Okay.
Today we're going to be busting myths. We're going to be talking
Call of
about
Duty
history.
veteran.
We're going to be doing what we do best on Garand Thumb, and that is being autistic. So there is a lot of conjecture going around over precisely what happened, over what weapon he used. We know that the NYPD is saying it was a B&T Station 6, which is a 9mm, a well-rod copy, which is a single-shot suppressor that uses wipes, and we'll talk more about that later. But there's a lot that we're seeing from the video that might disprove a lot of what's being said online, or even from what the NYPD is saying. So we're going to be going over 4 different theories over what we believe
4
is
theories.
Probably
We've only
most
had
likely.
2.
We're going to be picking our favorite ones that we think are most likely, and we're going to be showing, based off of our firearm knowledge, which is at this point fairly extensive, what is most likely, and trying to show you guys the truth here. A lot of non-truths, wouldn't you say, Jeremy?
I'd say so. A lot of guesswork at this point.
A lot of guesswork.
Yes, they are.
We do a lot of shooting with suppressors, so let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So right here we have kind of 3 main examples of pistols and suppressors that you would see. But before we get into it, let's take a look at the shooting itself and let's break it down. So here's what we know. The UnitedHealthcare CEO was walking by. Or, you know, if there's anything that America loves, it's an outlaw. Isn't that right? It's for this reason that we're seeing a lot of praise for this man. We're not condoning anything here in Garand Thumb, but we are saying that America has a love affair with people who are Robin Hood-like in many ways, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. Not saying that's what happened, but that's life. So first thing that happens, CEO walks by, our man walks out, he brings a weapon up, he fires. The
one, and then cycles it.
Weapon does not cycle, which is what leads many people to believe that it is a single shot.
Second one, he's manually cycling the firearm. That's why a lot of people said it jammed, and some people say it's he's using subsonic rounds.
Shot weapon. Despite that, we do see a lot of gas ejecting from the gas port. At that point, he cycles a weapon, he kind of rides it forward a little bit. This man seems to have, I would say, killed before, but probably not as well practiced on a firearm. He cycles it, he brings it up, he has a misfire of some type, he then fully cycles it, fires again. He then steps up while cycling the weapon, and if you notice, he then taps the back which could be both weapons. We'll talk about that. And then he seems to deliver a killing blow, at which point he leaves. So there's a lot that goes on in that assassination. And let's talk about how these different theories could fit into that. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is going to be theory 1, what the official theory is, which is that a B&T Station 6 9mm was used.
Wait a minute. There's been so much news going around, but have they even figured out what type of firearm was used? Holy crap, this is the first year a B&T Station 6 was used.
Now, the B&T Station 6 is a fairly, I think, unique weapon. I don't think many people are going to be buying this weapon. There's several reasons for this. It is a copy of the Wellrod, which was a World War II design. It is very quiet. However, it'd be a very curious weapon to use as a professional hit weapon, or to just use as a hit weapon. One, it falls under the NFA, which means if you bought it, it's going to be easily trackable, which...
Well, that's one thing, but wasn't the Wellrod MK used as a spy weapon? What was that small firearm issued to OSS, Office of Strategic Services? A very small firearm, and it was basically designed to shoot soldiers or to shoot officers in the back, and then you're supposed to get that soldier's weapon after you shoot him in the back. But the Wellrod MK, if I'm not mistaken, was specifically issued to spies and would be assassins. But now, in the modern setting, they can be easily traced. That's what he's saying. It wouldn't be wise to use this weapon for an assassination because it can be easily traced due to specific gun laws.
Means it's likely not going to be used, and it's very unique. So this is single shot, so if I want to load it, once I have the magazine this is probably why many people believe that this is what he used. You have to twist the back, pull it back, push it forward, and then lock into place. Now, here's what's very interesting about the weapon. Rather than using traditional baffles, which are essentially going to catch the gases that's going through, but those are straight holes, the B&T Station 6 uses wipes. These are essentially rubber caps that the bullet passes through, and those wipes actually slow down the round and take it from supersonic to subsonic, which makes it very quiet, which you can hear right here. That is a ridiculously
there we go, from supersonic to subsonic. That's something.
You then need to rotate, pull it out, and then you can load it again. So, very quiet.
He definitely wasn't twisting his hand,
unlikely
was he?
To be used for several reasons. 1, NFA. 2, if you notice in the videos, when he's actually cycling the weapon, he does not appear to be twisting and pulling.
Yeah, he's not twisting
it. He appears to just be cycling the slide itself. So I think it's somewhat unlikely.
He's manually cycling the weapon.
Now, if we take a look at the front right here, these wipes, as you can see right there, it's a very unique design. It costs a lot because wipes only last a certain number of rounds. After that, they're done. And they don't really last that many rounds. So this is very unlikely that he used the B&T Station 6. With that being said, we will try to recreate the scene to show you what it would have looked like had he used the B&T Station 6.
1, 2, final 3.
So it doesn't make sense to me because on that one shot, if you remember, he loads and then he taps the back. This is something that you typically do to a semi-automatic to seat the slide all the way forward. With this design, how it locks into place, it has to be fully rotated to lock forward. That wouldn't be something that you'd do to it. So I find it unlikely, but it's a possibility. So I would say theory number 1, that he used a B&T Station 6, I see probably the least likely of any theory that we have so far. And being that it's NYPD that suggested this, I think that makes sense. Theories number...
Could it be that he's using a Frankenstein? Because the way he was tapping the slide forward in order to complete this cycle, and you know what? Why don't we just keep on going?
2, 3, and 4 revolve around a functioning or semi-functioning semi-automatic weapon. In this case, we have a Glock. It's one of the most ubiquitous semi-automatic handguns out there. And when it comes to suppressors, any of your normal suppressors are going to run pretty well. This one's from CGS, and it's going to run on pretty much any pistol you put it on. Now, suppressors on pistols are a little bit temperamental, and there's a reason for that. With a suppressor on any type of tilt-lock gun or any type of Browning action, you have to unlock the barrel. So because you have so much weight on the barrel, these have what's called a booster or a Nielsen device on the suppressor. It's essentially a spring that's compressed and runs in the opposite direction. So you can see it right here. See, I can pull that out. You have a big old spring right there. So when I'm firing this weapon, that's going to cycle.
2.
But if you don't have a Nielsen device, that pistol is not going to cycle, and you'll need to manually cycle the weapon each shot. Which brings us to some of our first points that we're going to be making. So
there's a possibility that he used the Glock, but he doesn't have a Nielsen device on his suppressor. Is that it? Can someone put it down in the comments?
Here we've taken apart one of our suppressors, and you can see the Nielsen device right here. It's essentially just a piston that's going to counter operate and make sure that the barrel can run. Without this Nielsen device, this will not function. So the second theory is going to be that he used some type of home-built suppressor that did not have a Nielsen device.
That's more likely.
That way he had to cycle the weapon manually between shots. Let's take a look at what that would have looked like. Now, all of our suppressors, even without Nielsen devices, are running fine. They shouldn't, but they're just lightweight and they're made well. This is not typical of what you see. So we'll have to kind of manually do this. We'll be shucking out some live rounds. Let's see what that would have looked like.
1, 2, 3.
So as you can see there, he would have had to
He didn't even need to manually cycle this particular weapon.
manually cycle between rounds and the rounds wouldn't have ejected. I think this makes the most sense in terms of what is capable. Any type of suppressor that you're going to be buying requires that it go through NFA, National Firearms Act, which means it has to be sent over to the ATF. There's a lot of paperwork when it comes to the suppressor. I think it's unlikely he would have used a registered suppressor. Hand building your own suppressor, you can't stop people from having power tools. Seems a lot more likely.
Made a home-built one.
Had a booster, which means he would have had to have manually cycled it. When he fired the weapon, the thing that I find interesting is it looks like he did kind of expect it to malfunction in some way or to not cycle, because he did go up to cycle it. But if you notice, when he fired and it didn't cycle, he kind of rode the slide forward. What that means is that when he was loading it, he didn't let it just go back on its own power.
No.
When you want to load a round in, you're supposed to just
an old
pull it all
spring,
the way to the
perhaps?
rear, release it. He kind of rides it, which then causes that malfunction. So then he cycles again and he gets it to run. And then after he cycles that one, you notice he taps the back of the slide. This is likely because the weapon wasn't going fully into battery. If you notice, it can kind of be at that back position. So to get it to seat fully forward, you can tap the back to make sure it's fully in, that it will fire.
No.
So I say Timu suppressor, pretty high on the list of theories that actually make sense. Jeremy, what do you think?
I think that's the most probable. The
probable?
odds that he was registered with an NFA item and murdered somebody with it is basically non-existent.
The amount of crimes committed with NFA items are so low, and honestly, even if they were more than 0 or at this point 1, to be honest, don't infringe upon our rights. The next thing that I think makes a lot of sense
Subsonic
would be
rounds, there we go.
rounds. So your typical 9mm is going above the speed of sound. The speed of sound being 1,100 feet per second.
All right, so the last theory was a home-built suppressor. So subsonic rounds.
Round that's going below 1,100 feet per second, which varies depending on your height and atmospherics and stuff, I think makes sense. Now, here's the thing. I doubt this man would have gone and bought specialty ammo that's easily trackable.
Okay.
Maybe is not that good of a
easily trackable.
But what's actually quite easy to do is if you remove the slug.
Maybe he is. I mean, I feel like he's working under the presumption that, you know, this guy is an amateur. But it's been how many days since he's been in the wind, you guys?
Pour out some of the grainage. If you're able to weigh that, it's fairly easy to reduce the amount of power coming out of a round, which could also not cycle the weapon if you didn't have enough powder with the subsonic ammunition that he was running. To show you the difference, when you're firing, a suppressor does a really good job of keeping sound down, but when a round breaks the sound barrier, it breaks the sound barrier, and that is very loud. So we have a supersonic round that will be followed by a subsonic round. That was our super. Here's our sub. You can see it's a lot quieter. This does make some sense to me that perhaps he had subsonic rounds. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that would have looked like. Now, these are very well-made subsonic rounds from G9. They're gonna function. Let's see what that would have looked like had he run subsonics that would have functioned. Ready, Jeremy?
Ready.
Of course, that didn't happen. But subsonics make sense. The gun wouldn't have functioned had he done them not well. So this theory, I would say, probably the second best theory.
Second best theory. All right, subsonic rounds.
A single hand-loading press just to put in single rounds is like $20
you guys notice he didn't
online,
have to
so
manually cycle the
weapon. Of course,
weapon.
that didn't happen. But subsonics make...
Hold on. Check this out.
Loud. So we have a supersonic round that will be followed by a subsonic round.
See, he didn't need to manually cycle the weapon.
You can see it's a lot quieter.
Yeah, I feel like he's working under the presumption that the guy is an amateur.
This does make some sense to me that perhaps he had subsonic rounds. Let's go ahead and take a look at what that would have looked like. Now, these are very well-made subsonic rounds from G9. They're gonna function.
Yeah, well-made.
Would have looked like.
Factory made, in fact.
Subsonics that would have functioned. Ready, Jeremy?
Ready.
See, no need for to manually cycle the weapon.
Of course, that didn't happen. But subsonics make sense. The gun wouldn't have functioned had he done them not well. So this theory, I would say, probably the second best theory that we have.
A single hand loading press just to put in single rounds is like $20 online.
Yeah.
So it really wouldn't be hard to take the slug out, empty a little bit of the powder, and press it right back on there with no tracking.
He learned all that from Call of Duty. Theory number 4, he just didn't have a good suppressor.
Shit
So
suppressor.
pistol suppressors
Homemade.
are basically a Rube Goldberg type mechanism. You need a lot of things to go right in order for the pistol to cycle. Pistol suppressors, especially older ones, are fairly notorious for not cycling well. So had he had a pistol suppressor that just didn't run well, the weapon would have been choking up and not working during those shots.
There
I
we
would
go.
say this is also a pretty dang good theory, and this will put it at the third best theory that we have. So we're going to take our worst pistol suppressor. We're going to see if we can get this thing to malfunction. Now, theory 4, also very possible. So older suppressors really, what's the best way to say it? Older suppressors don't usually run well. I think of my old Gemtech can. Throwing Gemtech under the bus. That thing never ran. But modern suppressors do. So there's a possibility that he just used a old, not good suppressor that just wasn't running. In
Okay.
which case, it could have been
Not a homemade
that the
one,
gun
but
was
an
simply
old
malfunctioning.
manufactured one.
Now, right here we have our suppressor, and we're gonna go ahead and run a full magazine through it, and we'll see if it malfunctions. It's a pistol suppressor. There's a high probability, but we'll see. I want free healthcare.
Wait, no
You know
malfunction?
what? They just make pistol cans so good right now. So, I guess maybe if you knew something about guns, you would
Didn't
have
malfunction.
possibly used that, or maybe it made a lot more sense to use a Timu suppressor. We'll say this one as the third most likely thing that occurred was that he used a not functioning suppressor. Motherfucker. Oh shit. What he's doing.
There's another one. You know what? This one too, buddy.
Right here we have a ballistic gelatin dummy. We're going to show you the approximate damage that you're going to see from 9mm through the back.
All right.
These do a pretty good job of simulating the human body, but it's not a real body. That's illegal. So we
What?
we
It's
use
fire
this.
something
We start with
last.
the
Take the
supersonic
lungs
round,
out,
then
take
we'll
the
use
heart.
subsonic round to show you the difference in damage. Okay,
One.
we got the first shot through the back. You can see the entrance right there. And in fact, even with
Let's
the
see the exit.
supersonic round, it did not exit, as you can see right here. It got stuck right in the body, did not go
Oh.
anywhere. This is pretty typical when a round hits the bone for it to not go completely through. Let's go ahead and let's change the trajectory a little bit, get it a little more to the right, see if we can get an exit. Right next, we have subsonic G9. Okay, and now you can see the entrance right there, and then the exit. As you can see, 9mm isn't a terribly energetic round. Still going to do enough to kill you. Exit right there, crush all the bone on the way out. And then, as near as we can
What?
tell, there was some
Definitely
type
lethal.
of contact shot. So we'll do a contact shot next.
Yeah, so we're gonna do a contact shot next. That's probably that was the final round that he did, like a coup de
Yep.
grace on the back of the dude's head. So
It's good to growl what we say.
yeah, so canned 9mm and yeah, contact shot to the back of the dome.
Fuck you. Jesus, why'd you have to say so? Oh, sorry. No, that's fine. I just didn't. That was violent. Where did it go?
It went through the back of the head.
It went into the back of the head.
It's like wanting to.
I think.
There we go. Wait, have
it
they
actually-
released?
So like in the video
autopsy
games, right,
report
back
yet?
in the day, suppressors used to lower the damage. Now they like increase the damage.
Maybe
But does it is the real question.
we'll find out.
It's moving slower. It's the same weight physics-wise.
You ever
Should
notice
be.
that you can't get John to smile? He just lost the will to live.
John
Gone.
feels good.
So 115 grain supersonic ammo, back of the head.
Let's see.
Nice.
Anything?
That looks good on the face. Look at his face.
Oh, there
Okay.
we go.
Well,
It's just a little nosebleed.
so we've talked about a lot of theories today. We've gone over an interesting piece of history that has occurred, which was an
What?
assassination that occurred of a CEO.
1, 2, 3,
right here in
except the
United
Well-Rod
States.
MK
Now,
model.
whenever one of these historical events occurs, it's important on Garand Thumb that we take a look at it from a firearms enthusiast perspective to be able to shed some light over what's most
Thank
likely
you.
to occur. I would say the most likely scenario is what we talked about in theory 2. More than likely, he had a home-built suppressor that did
Okay.
not have a Nielsen device / a booster. Therefore, the weapon wasn't able to cycle unless he manually cycled it That would be our conjecture. Jeremy, do you tend to agree with this?
I completely agree.
So that's what he's
Seems
banking
extremely
on.
Unlikely that
Home
you
built
would have had
suppressor.
an NFA item. It's really easy to manufacture on your own with a little bit of crime mixed in.
I know.
And clearly, it's a lot of crime. If
And
you
clearly
kill
it's
somebody.
illegal in New York, so he can't have it there.
Right.
Murder's illegal, suppressors are illegal. No, it's stupid. Here's the thing. From what we can tell, it was a home-built suppressor. That would be my conjecture. And on top of that, we really do need to note that NFA items really account for almost less than zero any type of crime that occurs. They're probably gonna use this as a push. This is my soapbox. If they try to use this as a push, banning suppressors, that's dumb as fuck. Suppressors are a constitutional right. Firearms are a constitutional right. Don't let them use this to try to take away your rights. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Historical events will always make us do something like this. Understand it's done with, is respect the word, Jeremy?
I would assume so, yeah. I mean, the guy's got 2 kids, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's
no matter
terrible.
what.
I mean, you never want somebody to die. We always want, if there was any wrongdoing, you do want to see
Wow.
justice prevail, but not justice that's taken out of the hands of the justice system. But in any case, that's what happened. A little dad advice here for you guys today. Don't forget to drink water. You're probably dehydrated right now. And you know what? I am actually your brain right now, and I know you're dehydrated, so why don't you go ahead and drink 8 ounces of water.
Thank you. Thank you for watching, guys. Now you all know the drill. Please like, share, subscribe, and do the whole notification button thing. It would really help me out with the algo. Now, if you want me to check out other stories, please let me know in the comments. We upload on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, and we go live on Twitch every Friday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard. Links of the original videos are down in the description. Please check them out, and class dismissed.